Of song and story, Hercules, winner of ancient glory, fighting for the right.
Remember that muscle-bound hero with the magic ring? The Mighty Hercules wasn't just bargain basement Greek mythology, it was absolutely cursed behind the scenes.
Outside a remote mountain cave, the Mighty Hercules arrives for a strange rendezvous.
Today, we're counting down 15 shocking facts about that animated demigod that'll make you see Mount Olympus in a whole new light. 15. The show was created in a Canadian sweatshop. Adventure Cartoon Productions created Hercules in Toronto warehouse with no heat or proper ventilation. Animators worked in winter coats during Canadian winters because the studio couldn't afford heating. The facility violated multiple safety codes, but inspectors were bribed to ignore conditions. Artists developed frostbite, respiratory issues, and repetitive stress injuries from inhumane working environment. The production schedule demanded 6 episodes weekly, requiring 18-hour shifts 7 days straight. The mighty hero was animated by people whose employer treated them with criminal negligence. Sometimes beloved entertainment is built on suffering that never makes it into credits. 14. The animation cost, $3,000 per episode. Total each 5-minute Hercules episode cost approximately $3,000 versus Disney's $50,000 plus theatrical shorts. The microscopic budget required using absolute minimum animation frames, often 2 per second. Backgrounds were photographed once and reused across dozens of episodes with different filters. Character animation consisted of mouths moving over completely static bodies. The action sequences were still drawings with camera shake effects added. The show proved animation could be profitable garbage if distributed widely enough. Hercules' strength couldn't overcome how weak the budget made every single frame. 13. Jimmy Tapp voiced Hercules for $15 per episode. Voice actor Jimmy Tapp received flat $15 fee per episode with 0 residuals ever. He voiced Hercules, Newton, and multiple characters per episode for single poverty payment. Tapp worked day job as grocery clerk while voicing television's most famous strongman.
Oh, I made that statue to trick you, so I could get hold of the scepter and do this!
The studio threatened blacklisting if he discussed his wages with other voice actors. He died in 1986, having earned approximately $2,000 total from 130 episodes. The hero with godlike strength was voiced by someone who couldn't afford basic living expenses. Voice actor exploitation didn't begin in the 1980s. It was perfected in the 1960s. 12. The Greek mythology was completely fabricated. The show's myths were invented by Canadian writers who'd never read actual Greek mythology. Hercules' magic ring, flying horse Pegasus, and supporting characters contradicted every mythological source. The Mask of Vulcan and other artifacts were complete fabrications with 0 mythological basis.
No one can harm me while I wear the Mask of Vulcan. No one!
Helena was invented character combining aspects of multiple goddesses writers half remembered.
Helena, don't cry.
Newton, we must do something.
Daedalus became comedic sidekick, despite being completely unrelated to Hercules in actual myths.
Don't be angry with me. Sit down, my friend. I'll tell you all about it.
The mythology show taught children mythology that never existed anywhere except writers' imaginations. Educational programming can teach completely false information if nobody's checking the facts. 11. The show was banned. In Greece, Greek government banned the Mighty Hercules for cultural desecration of national mythology. Cultural ministers considered it offensive mockery of Hellenic heritage and demanded distribution cease. The ban lasted until 1974, preventing Greek children from seeing bastardized version of their culture. American networks ignored Greek protests, considering mythology public domain, requiring no cultural respect. The show that introduced mythology to millions was rejected by culture that created it. Sometimes cultural appropriation means taking stories and destroying everything that made them meaningful. 10. The theme song was plagiarized. The iconic theme music was stolen from public domain classical piece with lyrics added.
Iron in his thighs, virtue in his heart, fire in every part of the mighty.
Composer Winston Sharples copied melody from 19th century composition, assuming nobody would recognize it. The original score was actually recycled classical music, played at different tempos. Musicians recognized the theft immediately, but couldn't afford suing low-budget cartoon studio. The plagiarism was so blatant that music historians use it as textbook copyright violation example. The heroic theme celebrating strength was built on creative weakness and theft. Sometimes the most memorable music is memorable because you've heard it before somewhere else. 9. Toot, the satyr was censored. Gay character. Newton's original character design was significantly more effeminate before network censors intervened. The satyr's mannerisms and relationship with Hercules were coded homosexual friendship. Voice direction told actor to make Newton less swishy to avoid parent complaints. The character's cowardice and artistic nature were coded queerness for 1960s audiences. Network executives reviewed every Newton scene for inappropriate subtext before broadcast. The comedic sidekick was sanitized gay character that 1960s television couldn't acknowledge explicitly. Sometimes representation happens through characters whose queerness must stay invisible to exist at all. 8. The episodes were aired in random order. Syndication packages had no episode order, letting stations air them randomly without continuity. The lack of serialization meant stories contradicted each other constantly without consequence. Characters learned lessons that were immediately forgotten in next episode broadcasters chose. The chaos created continuity nightmares, where characters died and reappeared without explanation. Stations programmed episodes based on time slots available, not narrative coherence. The mighty hero existed in narrative chaos where nothing mattered and nothing connected. Sometimes, storytelling is just content filling time slots in whatever order pays best. 7. The violence was extreme for children's programming. Hercules featured graphic violence that somehow escaped 1960s censorship completely. Characters were crushed, burned, drowned, and dismembered in ways that would never air today. The body count across 130 episodes exceeded 400 on-screen deaths. Hercules regularly killed enemies without remorse or consequences, normalizing lethal violence. Parents complained about nightmares and aggressive behavior in children watching the show. The mythology excuse allowed violence that contemporary shows couldn't justify. Ancient Greece became cover for depicting brutality that would be censored in modern settings. 6. The show was secret military recruitment tool. Department of Defense provided consulting and partial funding to promote military values to children. The Pentagon's public relations budget subsidized production in exchange for heroic militaristic messaging. Hercules' strength and violence were designed to make military service seem heroic and necessary. Episodes featured clear good versus evil dynamics that supported Cold War American ideology. Military recruitment among teens who'd watched Hercules was statistically higher than non-viewers. The mythology show was propaganda teaching children that might makes right. Sometimes ancient heroes are really modern military recruitment campaigns in togas. 5. The studio went bankrupt. During production adventure, Cartoon Productions declared bankruptcy in 1965 while episodes were still being produced. The final episodes were completed by animators working without pay, hoping for eventual compensation. Studio assets were seized by creditors, leaving workers with nothing for months of labor. The completed episodes were sold to pay debts, with original artists receiving zero compensation. The bankruptcy scattered animation cells and original art that collectors now pay thousands for. The mighty hero couldn't save his own studio from financial collapse and worker exploitation. Sometimes the greatest battles are lost in accounting offices, not on battlefields. 4. The racial coding was deliberately offensive. Villains were designed with exaggerated features paralleling racist caricatures of non-white peoples. Daedalus's design included anti-Semitic stereotypes that Jewish groups protested immediately. The barbarian enemies featured darker skin tones, associating evil with non-whiteness. Writers embedded racial hierarchy with white Greek heroes versus dark-skinned villains. The mythology provided cover for racist imagery disguised as historical accuracy. Parent groups complained, but syndicators ignored protests from minority communities. The ancient world became excuse for teaching racist visual language to children. 3. The syndication package was complete fraud. Distributors sold 130 episodes, but only 127 actually existed, padding numbers with duplicates. Stations discovered the fraud years later, but contract technicalities prevented recourse. The new episodes promised were actually existing episodes with different title cards. Translux Corporation made millions selling content that didn't exist through deceptive marketing. Multiple broadcasters sued, but settlements were sealed to prevent public awareness. The heroic mythology was less honest than the corporate fraud distributing it. Sometimes the real villains wear suits and sell imaginary content to unsuspecting buyers. 2. The show killed Canadian animation industry. Hercules' success proved Canadian animation could compete through exploitation, not quality. The race to the bottom labor practices became industry standard, destroying artistic development. Talented animators fled to United States, where working conditions were marginally better. The Canadian government investigated but couldn't prove sufficient violations to intervene. An entire generation of potential animators was driven from industry by inhuman conditions. The show's commercial success justified worker exploitation that lasted decades. One profitable show's business model destroyed an entire country's creative industry. 1. Jimmy Tapp died never knowing. His impact voice actor. Jimmy Tapp died believing Hercules was forgotten failure nobody remembered or cared about. He never knew about reruns, syndication success, or cultural impact of his performance. Tapp's family learned about the show's popularity only after his death from fan letters. He received 0 residuals from decades of continuous broadcast generating millions. The voice that defined childhood hero died thinking he'd wasted time on meaningless work. Tapp's obituary didn't mention Hercules because his family didn't know it mattered. The mighty voice belonged to someone who died believing his strength meant nothing. Bonus: the ring was corporate trademark strategy. Hercules' magic ring existed purely as merchandising hook with 0 mythological basis. The studio trademarked Hercules ring to sell cheap plastic toys to children. The plot device was marketing strategy disguised as storytelling element. Original scripts had no ring, but toy manufacturers demanded iconic merchandisable object. The ring's powers changed constantly based on which toys needed promoting that quarter. The mighty symbol was corporate cynicism, teaching kids that heroes need products. Sometimes the most powerful objects our intellectual property lawyers can protect and license. From frozen animators to military propaganda, from racist imagery to voice actor poverty. The Mighty Hercules wasn't just bargain basement mythology. It was barely controlled exploitation disguised as children's entertainment. This ancient hero broke animation budgets, broke workers' bodies, and taught us that sometimes the mightiest strength is surviving the industry that creates you. Until next time, remember, not all heroes wear capes, some wear winter coats in unheated sweatshops, and knowing that is the whole battle. Hercules, Hercules, hero of song and story, except the real story is what they never animated.